Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. The headlines. Malabar Naval exercise of Quad Nations begins on Tuesday in Bay of Bengal. India extends emergency credit line guarantee scheme by 1 month. Donald Trump and Joe Biden seeks for support in battleground states as presidential election race enters its final hours. Sudan, Egypt and Ethiopia restart Nile mega dam talks. And in tennis, Russia's Andrei Rublev wins the Vienna Open beating Italy's Lorenzo Sonego. The first phase of four-nation Malabar Naval Exercise 2020 begins tomorrow. It will be organized in Bay of Bengal from November 3 to 6. For the first time, Quad Nations, India, US, Japan and Australia have come together for this joint maritime exercise. A report.
The 24th edition of the Malabar Naval Exercise is scheduled in 2 phases in November 2020. The 4 navies of Quad Nations will carry out missions together in order to enhance maritime coordination in the Indo-Pacific region. The exercise will be conducted as a non-contact at sea-only exercise in the view of COVID-19 pandemic. It will showcase the high levels of synergy and coordination between the navies of 4 countries, which is based on their shared values and commitment to an open, inclusive, Indo-Pacific and rule-based international order. Phase 2 of Malabar 20 is scheduled to be conducted in Arabian Sea in mid-November 2020. Arun Mohan for AIR World News.
The Government of India has today extended the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme ECLGS by 1 month till November 30th, 2020 or till such time that an amount of 3 trillion rupees is sanctioned under the scheme, whichever is earlier. The decision came in view of the opening up of various sectors in the economy and the expected increase in demand during the ongoing festive season in the country. The ECLGS was announced as part of the Self-Reliant India package to provide fully guaranteed and collateral-free additional credit to micro, small and medium enterprises, business enterprises, individual loans for business purposes to the extent of 20% of their credit outstanding as on 29th February 2020. Tenor of loans provided under the scheme is 4 years, including a moratorium of 1 year on principal repayment. 1.48 trillion has been disbursed so far under the scheme. As the election day approaches fast, US President Donald Trump has been canvassing in 4 battleground states. His Democratic rival, Joe Biden, is campaigning in Pennsylvania and Ohio in the race for the White House. Trump trails Biden in national opinion polls, but the race is seen as close enough swing states that Trump could still gather the 270 votes needed to prevail in the state-by-state electoral college that determines the winner. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on Monday appointed Finance Minister Grant Robertson as Deputy Prime Minister in the new government. Mr. Robertson will replace Winston Peters of Labour's previous coalition partner New Zealand First. Ms. Priyanka Radhakrishnan, who has roots in the Indian state of Kerala, will be sworn in as Minister for the Community and Voluntary Sector. A thumping election win gave Ms. Ardern the freedom to form the first single-party government since New Zealand adopted a proportional voting system in 1996. Ms. Ardern said her government's top priorities will be to drive economic recovery from COVID-19 while continuing to shield the country from the virus. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. In Georgia, the Central Election Commission has declared the ruling party as the winner of parliamentary election. The parliamentary election was held on Saturday. The ruling Georgian Dream Party won 48% of the vote, while the largest opposition, United National Movement Party, gained 27% votes. Opposition parties alleged that the poll was rigged. Thousands of opposition supporters gathered in front of the Parliament building in the capital, Tbilisi, protesting the election outcome and calling for a rerun of the vote. Police stopped a march in the capital city of Dhaka of Bangladesh today on the controversy over the statement by the French President Emmanuel Macron over the cartoon of Prophet Muhammad. A report from our special correspondent in Dhaka.
The police in the capital city Dhaka today foiled a protest march called by the hardline Islamist organization Hifazat-e-Islam against the French government. The march was called against the statement of the French president on the issue of the cartoon of Prophet Muhammad published in a French magazine and subsequent violence. The protesters had threatened to besiege the French embassy in the diplomatic area of Dhaka. The protesters demanded that the Bangladesh government should cut off diplomatic ties with France over the issue. They also called for the boycott of French goods. Many towns in Bangladesh have reported protests on this issue over the last few days. Security agencies tightened security around the diplomatic area to avoid any untoward incident. Rajesh Jha for World News, AIR, Dhaka.
Sudan, Egypt and Ethiopia have resumed the latest round of talks over Addis Ababa's controversial dam on the Blue Nile. The week-long negotiations were held via video conference. The participants include water ministers from the three countries, representatives from the African Union, European Union and the World Bank. Egypt, which depends on the Nile for about 97% of its irrigation and drinking water, sees the dam as an existential threat. Sudan hopes the dam will help regulate flooding, but has also warned that millions of lives would be at great risk if Ethiopia unilaterally fills the dam. Meanwhile, Ethiopia views the project as essential for its electrification and development and insists that the flow of water downstream will not be affected. Previous three-way talks have failed to produce an agreement on the filing and operation of the vast reservoir of Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates. According to the WHO data, the number of infected cases has crossed 46.40 million worldwide. World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said on Sunday that he had been identified as a contact of someone who tested positive for COVID-19. He added that he was feeling well and did not have any symptoms. Machu Picchu, the ancient city high in the Andes Mountains in Peru, has reopened after nearly 8 months of closure due to the coronavirus pandemic. India has achieved another significant milestone in its fight against COVID as more than 7.5 million people have recovered so far. The national COVID recovery rate has reached 91.68%. India's Bharat Biotech is planning to launch its COVID-19 vaccine candidate in the second quarter of 2021 if it gets approval from Indian regulatory authorities. The company, which has received initial approval from Drugs Controller General of India to conduct late-stage trials for its vaccine candidate Covaxin, said it plans to conduct recruitment and dosage for the Phase 3 trials in November. At least 16 people have died and 3 are reported missing in the Philippines as Typhoon Goni hit the Philippines. The super typhoon Goni weakened on Sunday after barreling through the southern part of the Philippines' main island of Luzon. The Weather Bureau downgraded Goni to typhoon category with 215 kph sustained winds and gusts of up to 290 kph after it made landfall in 2 places in the Bicol region. Goni is among the strongest typhoons to hit the Philippines since Haiyan, which killed more than 6,300 people in 2013. Pakistan's Interior Minister Ijaz Shah has threatened opposition parties of attacks by the Taliban. The Pakistan opposition reacted strongly to the remarks. They sought the Interior Minister's resignation and said such statements validate the allegations of supporting terrorists being levelled against Pakistan by the world. Pakistani opposition parties such as the Pakistan People's Party, Awami National Party and Pakistan Muslim League have recently formed a new alliance for restoring democracy in the country. Moving on to sports, in tennis, Russia's Andrei Rublev beat Italy's Lorenzo Sonego 6-4, 6-4 to win the Vienna Open for the 5th ATP Tour title of the year. India is celebrating 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to Vaishnav Jan by artists from Denmark.
Vaishnav Jan tu teene kahiye ge peeda parai jaane re par dukhe upkar kare tae man abhiman na.
And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.